Welcome to my fireside chat. Tonight we want to look at Christ's Transfiguration. Luke chapter 9, verse 29, it says this, "And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistering." We find many great things happens on the mountain. In the scriptures we find in Mount Moriah, Abraham took Isaac to be sacrificed, but God supplied another sacrifice. Mount Sinai, Moses went up on the mountain and there met with God, and then God gave him the law. We find also Mount Carmel, a place to where Elijah was there battling against the prophets of the grove, and there prayed, and fire fell and consumed the sacrifice and the altar. We find that Mount Calvary, Jesus came and was the sacrifice on the cross for us on Mount Calvary. Today, as we're looking at his transfiguration, some believe it was on Mount Hermon, a great mountain, the mountain that the headwaters of the Jordan River came from. Many things happened in that area, but here, one night, Peter, James, and John, they were sleepy. But Jesus had a reason for being there, I believe. First, I believe he needed to talk to God, his Father. He needed some guidance. What a lesson for us when we need to know what to do. See, he was about to go to Calvary. He knew that. So he went for that purpose. The second thing I believe, he needed strength. He had been on a long journey. He was tired. Many people wanted from him, and he gave. But every time that he would get tired, the scripture says that he would go away in a solitude place, and this was one of those times. You see, we find that in verse 31, it says when Peter and James and John woke up, they seen Jesus transfigured, glorified, in a glorified state, literally a picture in heaven. And so we find that as he was there, the conversation that he overheard was they were talking about, as it says in verse 31, it says that he would decease. The word literally means departure, the Greek word, but yet in the same word, in the context in Hebrew, we find is exodus, going out, literally meaning to not exist anymore, but yet just going to a different place, just like the recording of God's people going out of bondage into a new life. And so Peter, James, and John, they're standing around seeing all of this, and they're amazed. And as Jesus comes, Peter doesn't want to leave. He says, "Jesus, let's build a tent for you, and a tent for Moses, and a tent for Elijah." He was excited. He didn't mention anything about them. I guess they were just going to sleep on the ground. It didn't matter to him. It was a wonderful thing. He didn't want to leave. But Jesus said, we have to leave. There's things we need to do. You see, we can't always stay on the mountain. That's what I want to bring to you tonight. Because see, down in the valley where they had been, there was a father that had a son that was possessed by demons. The other 9 disciples had been trying to deal with the demon, and they couldn't. But when Jesus got there, we find it says very clearly in verse 41, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you and suffer you? Bring the Son. We find here Jesus is saying they fell short of what they needed. And many times I know you and I, we feel so small, we feel so weak. And in this account of Scripture, I think we can, like Jesus, go to church, have a devotion, read the Scriptures, have a time of prayer, have a biblical class or meeting or lesson with friends, to do two things, just like what Jesus needed. First, guidance from God, and second, strength. We need both in these days more than ever before. You see, this beautiful account, I remember in a time we had a men's retreat one weekend. We began gathering on a Thursday, on the excitement of everybody coming together. Had a wonderful service Thursday evening, and all day Friday we were in meetings, and each one got better and better and better. And Saturday night after the last meeting, we were all just talking after service and sharing testimony together. And so many were saying, oh, we just don't want to leave. Kind of sounds like Peter, doesn't it? One fella was there that got right with the Lord. He interrupted and he said, I just feel different than you guys. And he explained that he couldn't wait to get home, to tell what had happened to him on his mountaintop experience. Oh, wow. We can't stay on the mountain. We can't stay in church 7 days a week. We can't hide in the house of God and take comfort and solace in it. Oh, we'd want to. God needs us out in the world. God needs us to witness for Him and to share His love and to be His disciples and not be faithless and not be weak. We need not to stay on the mountain. We want to. It's good to be in church. It's good. But we need to be a part of the world as an influence. God bless you, is my prayer.